But the thing that made me the most annoyed yesterday was watching my most recent video just age like milk because I said the Bucks can't flip a switch. The Bucks aren't the team to flip a switch. Well, I don't know about the team as a whole, but Damian Lillard certainly flipped a switch in game 1 and he was completely unstoppable. It didn't really matter what else was happening in that game because he was carrying the team on his back and nobody could stop him from scoring once he starts hitting the heat check, step back 30 footers in your face. You got to bring a double or you got to just deal with the consequences. And in general, the Pacers just dealt with the consequences, and the consequences was getting 35 on your head in the first half. He didn't even need to do anything in the second half. I think that wasn't the greatest surprise. Like, the Bucks are a team, yes, they've been completely dysfunctional, and I certainly do not believe in them to make a deep playoff run. I'm not fooled by this game 1. I do not believe in them. All of a sudden, I'm not hopping back on the bandwagon. Yes, the East is weak. It might give this team a better chance to advance. I do not see them beating New York in a series, or Philly even. That being said, I'm not going to be talking about the Bucks in this video. Tyrese Halliburton, I'm gonna have to come in here and I'm gonna have to stand on my word and my take about Tyrese Halliburton every game if he plays bad. I'm not gonna sit here and say that he's a fake all-star or that he fooled everybody or that he even fooled me. I'm not giving up hope. I'm not folding. That being said, we do have to address some of the deficiencies in play, why this may be happening, what is going on with Tyrese Halliburton. This is the engine that I expect the Indiana Pacers to run on. I don't think I'm going to see 50 Pascal Siakam ISOs every single game, because surely your point guard that has dealt with the burden of running this offense most of the season can be able to initiate offense for 75% of the game when he's on the court. And in game 1, that's just not what happened. Now, I know he's not been the same player since that hamstring injury. We'll talk about that a little bit. Where's the guy that does a million give and goes on any possession and he never stops moving? And he's going left, right, he's going behind the screen, he's going through the defense, come back up, get the ball off a dribble handoff, dribble around, take a screen, dish it off, come back, get the ball back, run another play. The sheer amount of movement and activity that this guy would put into an offensive possession back in November, night and day compared to now. I mean, I can't remember ever seeing him just stand around this much and just watch Aaron Nesmith brick a 3. Like, these guys couldn't shoot at all. It's not like they were really getting great shots. They were just kind of shooting early in the clock and not really working for a good shot, in large part because Tyrese didn't want to help the possession, help them get the best shot possible, which was what was so great about him as a player early in the year. There was just a feeling I got watching him play. It wasn't necessarily about, oh, he's racking up assists, because some guys can rack up a million assists and they're just dribbling the ball for 15 seconds and they're kicking it to somebody. It's like farming assists. It's not as earned. It makes the stats look really good. And then also in that case, when you're doing that and when you have that usage so high, you're probably turning the ball over a lot. Tyrese, there was a point in the season where he was giving double-digit assists every game, and he's also not turning the ball over. A maestro. And it was beautiful to watch that he was getting the ball in the hands of his team, and he wasn't holding on to the ball, and the team as a whole just made a ton of passes. He passed the ball, move around, get it back. Do it again, do it again, do it again, get the best shot. But he's always moving. Like, the level of motion from him, from the whole team, it made it so difficult to guard because the defense could never relax. Reminded me a lot of Steph. Like, just the way that he just never stops moving. He's always liable to go anywhere on the court in order to make a play to get himself open. Ever since the hamstring injury, it just hasn't been the same. But in this first playoff game for Tyrese, he was playing scared. It looked like he didn't really want any part of having the ball. You can't take 7 shots if your team isn't hitting shots. Like, it's okay to not shoot a lot and to let your other guys cook. And I would actually prefer that for a pure point guard type player like Tyrese, who is a rare breed in today's NBA, the guy that doesn't need to get up 20 shots. I've said before, I love that quality of his game, that he doesn't need to shoot volume shots just to shoot. But dear Lord, they couldn't hit anything, and he's not looking for the ball. He's not demanding the ball. He's not inserting himself into the center of the offense. and he made 4 out of his 7 shots. It's not like, oh, I took a few shots, I knew I was off. You weren't even trying. You weren't even trying to run the offense. Like, why are you bringing the ball up, dishing it off, and then going to chill on the wing for 20 seconds while Pascal isos or whatever's going on? It's just not generating offense to a better degree than you would. It felt like he had unlimited energy when I watched him play. Like, when he dishes it off and he keeps moving, like, he never stops moving. He's always a threat to get the ball. You always got to worry about him. That's what makes him such a destructive presence to defenses, and to whoever's guarding him, you can never relax. Such a great quality of a player is someone that makes a defense concentrate on you like that. Against the Bucks, you are giving them possessions off by just standing around and chilling. I don't know whose fault this is, but seriously, you know what works with your team when you are the guy initiating things. Obviously, having a player like Pascal and adjusting to that, I understand it takes some time. You're going to have to play a little bit differently with a guy like that that's going to have the ball sometimes too. It can't be all you, of course. But there has to be a balance, and you're still the main guy. They didn't get Pascal to be the main guy on this offense. They got him to help you out and to give you another guy that when other guys aren't hitting the shots, when your offense isn't generating the best shots, a guy that can get his own shots sometimes, that you can pass the ball to, that you know you have faith in that he can make a shot from the mid-range, he can create something off the dribble. Most guys on this Pacers team can't really do that. Tyrese had this hamstring injury, when was it? It was in January. And he came back from that prematurely, and he's never been the same. He rushed back. He was trying to fulfill a criteria of games played so that he can make All-NBA. He's not going to make All-NBA. His second half performance just hasn't been good enough. Maybe he sneaks in. I don't think he's going to do it, though. I wrote out my All-NBA teams. He wasn't on mine. There's a lot of good players and guys that were just consistent from the beginning to the end of the season. And second half of the season, Tyrese is not the same thing as the guy that we saw in November, December. And in this first playoff game, it's a tough game. Going up against Pat Bev, who's an experienced guy who knows the playoff game very well. He's going to play physical. He's going to be an irritant. And Tyrese, it just didn't look like he wanted any part of that. There was no effort to really put his stamp on the game, to take over the game, to kind of match that sort of energy. I mean, you have to be dictating so much of what goes on for your team's offense as this type of player, and he just wasn't. So I don't know if it's a stamina thing or an injury thing. I know he hasn't been right since the hamstring. And the hamstring, if you know about hamstrings, this is kind of an injury that just kind of flares up and comes back, and it's hard to really truly recover from it. When you rush back from it, you're probably not going to be your peak self, so it's not that surprising that he isn't and hasn't been. And since that injury, he was never given an opportunity to really totally recover. He hasn't had a break since the All-Star break. So yeah, I mean, I expect him to play better and to just be more assertive and try to take over the game a little bit more in game 2, but he doesn't look like the same player at all. So yeah, I feel dumb as fuck for picking the Pacers because I totally didn't think about the amount of experience the Bucks have, even though this team, they didn't look good at all during the season. No shit, and Dame is new on this team, so it's a different team. And you don't have that same level of defense that you had with a guy like Drew. But Giannis wasn't even playing, and they didn't even need him. It's like, imagine when he comes back. They could get them out of here in 4 games. 5. Yeah, this is a young Pacers team that hasn't been here before, and for some reason I just looked over that. I mean, I guess certain players on this team have, but not much. The experience differential is high. But I was just thinking about youth and energy and the Bucks being an old team that shouldn't be able to keep up. But if you execute, you execute. Pacers weren't executing. They weren't getting good shots. And the Bucks have Dame. Now, I don't think Dame is going to do this every game, but he only needed to do it for a half. But you're still in fear of that. You still have to guard him like he's capable of doing this every single time.